Thanks for coming out. This is a great story. It's a continuing story that we're going to hear about today. I want to thank in particular my Director of NAMTRANS, Joel Wood, and also Christy Kennedy, my Vice President for Marketing, for pulling this together and also working behind the scenes in the lead up to this to facilitate some of the conversations and discussions that led to the updated agreement you'll hear more about in a bit. Now, all you employers in the room, raise your hands. All right, I'm glad you're mostly sitting down. If you're not sitting down, you might want to, because I got something that's going to shock you. We have a workforce crisis. Now, I know you're probably busy and you haven't noticed, but the number one thing I hear about, and everybody dealing with employers hears about, is I can't find people. And it doesn't matter if it's the Michigan stand or it's a manufacturer. You know, it's across all lines of employment. It's across all strata of workers. It's not geographic. It's not the North Country. It's New York City. It's international. It's the Western world, really, coming out of this pandemic. And if you think back about it, if we went back to January, February 2020, ahead of this thing that dropped on us, we were talking about it then. And we had unemployment in Clinton County that was down around 4%. It had been down a few months before to as low as 3.6%, really full employment plus. And already we were hearing about, you know, the stress to just find people, let alone also the discussion of skilled people, or people ready to do certain things, but just finding enough of a pool of people. Then the pandemic kind of distracted us and things shut down, although a lot of you, particularly in manufacturing, most of you stayed open. You were considered essential, and many of you grew, continued to grow all through those pandemic months, and so continued to kind of hit that challenge, but with the added strange wrinkles of people being quarantined and all of that, maybe kind of masking the underlying problem, because you could kind of say, well, it's because of the pandemic and people are home with their kids, homeschooling, and you know, all this stuff. But now we're coming out of it. And the fact is, you've all found, and we're all finding, it's back. Everything that we were talking about in early 2020 pre-pandemic is back in terms of the tightness of the labor pool, only with whole new wrinkles and dimensions to it that are in fact post-pandemic. The pandemic had a lasting effect. We don't know how lasting all of it is going to be. Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be 6 years? Is it here for good? You know, time will tell, but you all know it's had an effect. We know that part of it is demographics. We can't do much about that. We know that there's an attitudinal shift we're hearing more and more about, particularly among young people, toward work they're willing to do, work they want to do, having gotten used to kind of staying at home for a year and a half. So there's some attitudinal shifts within what workforce we have that are challenging, that employers are all going to struggle to try to figure out how they might address that some way in their work environment or their rules of working or whatever, and you're all going through that. There was educational disruption. They know that here at Clinton Community College. So think of it in its most simplistic form. I know my daughter's generation in college, a lot of them stopped going to college. They didn't want to do remote. So they have delayed the end game of what normally would have been when they come out of college and come into the workforce for those jobs that they're then prepared for. And some of them are not anxious to go back now. So there's all that's now in the stew in terms of impacting, at least in the near term, and maybe in a more lasting way, the availability of that kind of whole generation and its preparation as opposed to what would have been the norm of how that would have progressed a few years ago. And then we're re-seeing some of the things that we know are about sustaining a workforce, particularly in the Adirondacks, but here in Clinton County as well. You know, the importance of child care. With the Workforce Development Board, we were talking about that in early 2020, late 2019, as a growing crisis. And boy, did the pandemic teach us things about that and has exacerbated that. And we need to pay attention to that through the YMCA and others to address the availability and the affordability of child care, affordable housing in many areas of the North Country. And here's where I'm coming to the main point of here today, skills. Because there's still the skills gap, even in the context of all these other things that are making the pool tighter and smaller and more competitive. You know, most of you, particularly manufacturers here, need to have at least certain basic skills levels, and for some positions, a higher level of skills development. And so we're back to talking about how to help you do that. And today is part of the answer. It's part of the answer that we had 2 years ago, but we're refreshing it. Our partners are coming together to update and identify the strongest ways forward to maximize the things we had in place a couple of years ago before the pandemic. And we're reminding the employer community, all of you here today and all of your colleagues out there, that these tools are here. To the extent that through the pandemic there was Clinton Community College was mostly shut down, a lot of other CV Tech and places mostly shut down, and so there was kind of an interruption to a degree, certainly both a real and a psychological interruption in being able even to avail yourselves of the tools for training that were in place, but now that's over. And so today is a celebration of two things. It's a celebration of what you're going to hear about in terms of the updated conversations around partnership between Clinton Community College, including this extraordinary facility, and Clarkson University, which have been going on for a few years, but now are being, again, updated, expanded. There are fresh conversations about how to maximize the potential of that for both, and in turn for all of you in the employer community and your employees and future employees. And it's a celebration of that fact that we have this Institute for Advanced Manufacturing. We have these programs and remarkable tools and assets. We need the employer community to come back to the table and start using it. Do not, and some of you remember I said this 2 years ago, a little different environment, but I am going to kind of say it again. Don't complain about workforce if you're not using the tools that are available to you. Use all the tools that are available to you, and then let's see what degree you're not, you still have a gap. And this is one of the tools available to you. And 2 years ago, we saw a really energized scenario where the employers, the manufacturers are really coming to the table. There were a bunch of them using this place for contract learning. There was a Nova bus sitting in here a couple of years ago, and Bombardier with the welding programs, and just probably about a dozen other manufacturers doing specialized programming. We need to get back to that and do more. And so we want to plant that seed in all of you and have you help convey it to your colleagues, and we will be too. Start thinking about reusing the tool, and do use the tool once again here and maximize it for your skills development. It's here, it's ready, it's remarkable. I think it's something employers can be proud of and excited about, so give it some fresh thought. With the Olympics underway, it's great to have two gold medal winners in my point of view in terms of economic and workforce development here in the North Country. In fact, they're two of my heroes as colleagues and as partners. Ray, who is going to be leaving us in a couple of weeks, but he's never going to leave us in terms of the lasting contribution he's made here. And Tony Collins, who's giving us a little more notice. He's going to be leaving us a year from now. But he's not going to be leaving either in terms of the remarkable contribution he will leave behind, lasting legacy here in the North Country, across the North Country. And I want to ask each of them to come up as we start this conversation to talk a bit about the things that I just cited. The evolving opportunity inherent in the MOU that's going to be signed here today and where that may be going, some of the other conversations that are continuing about where that might lead to. It's exciting. It's the stuff we talked about here several years ago when this facility was open, and it's starting to happen. And with that, I am going to begin with my good friend and colleague and partner, one of the people I most respect in life. In my professional life, I've met few people. I've met congressmen and senators and presidents and company CEOs and all sorts of folks. But in your life, you have certain people who really make an impression in terms of the commitment they have to the things you care about that they also care about. And Tony Collins is one of those people for me. I want to be like Tony when I grow up. And so, President of Clarkson University, Tony Collins.
Gosh, and I thought we'd all grown up. Very kind words, thank you, Gary. And it's actually interesting as we reemerge from almost 2 years of being kind of down in the burrow, and we look out and we've come out as a groundhog does to look and see what's going on. And do we see our shadow or not see our shadow? Well, I'm seeing in front of me a number of people that actually I've gotten to know through Garry over the years, and to the governor's credit, almost 10 years ago, when he appointed Garry and I as co-chairs of the Regional Economic Development Council here, that introduced me to Garry, also to many people in the audience today. And what's interesting from Clarkson's perspective is that that actually turned our eyes to the east and not as much to the west and south. And we discovered and worked together over the years to build really a vibrant economy that has unlimited potential, I believe, in the North Country, and not just in the North Country, not just in New York State, but globally. And so why would I say those things? Well, a lot of it has to do with the transportation industry and how we can service that. I'll get to it in a second, but there's a story going in Potsdam that is consistent with what's happening here in the transportation industry. I'll just give you a little example in a moment. But just the raw specifics is we have a Center for Advanced Materials Processing at Clarkson, and that's really the closer association with the Institute for Advanced Manufacturing here, and we're thrilled to sign that agreement and expand it in many different ways. Our center, just for you to know, is one of the most cited activities in New York State for the positive impact on the state. For every dollar that the state has invested in Clarkson's Center for Advanced Materials Processing, $24 have grown out of that $1 investment. And that's pretty unique when it comes to state investments. And so we've got that asset, and as I mentioned, Garry and the Regional Economic Development activity turned our attention to the east, and we found here a great partner in Clinton Community College and this building that we're associated with. But it's much more than that. And so in Potsdam, through actually much of the energy of the North Country Regional Economic Development Council, we've created an ecosystem of innovation and creation. It may surprise you to know that we now employ about over 150 people in Potsdam, right in Potsdam, most of them on our campus in startup businesses, the largest of which is LC Drives, and that produces, well, not only does it produce, but it employs about 110 people that had no jobs 4 years ago. 110 people. I will proudly say that half of them are Clarkson graduates. And they produce, manufacture, and ship small electric motors that are innovative and creative, and they're the best in class globally. Now, where would you use those motors? They're about half the weight and size of a standard motor that produces the same amount of power. Where would you use them? Well, think of the transportation industry, where small and lightweight is important. And so the opportunity to place those electric motors manufactured and shipped around the world these days into the transportation industry opportunities here in Plattsburgh, none of that existed 5 or 10 years ago. And it's this association, this partnership, this opportunity that truly is global. Why not take these enterprises that I've talked about, Potsdam, Clarkson, the other universities and colleges in our region, particularly Clinton Community College. I think you have over 50 companies now in Plattsburgh in the transportation industry. That starts to get to be a global critical mass of opportunity. And you need the workforce. And so what are we doing about that workforce development at Clarkson? You'll see a lot of effort into what we call micro-credentials or badges. And they're opportunities for our students that are getting the standard degree, and that has become somewhat standard these days, an electrical engineering degree or a chemical engineering degree or a civil engineering degree. But how do you add value so that they're job ready and ready to come over and work in this industry? Well, you think about the extra out-of-curricular opportunities that you can provide. And they can be project management. They could be, even for our students, a welding badge, so that when they come here, they may not be welders, but they can certainly talk the language. And so adding a lot of extra value to our students is the future through badges, and it would align. And that's why Clarkson aligns. So we're not an up-in-the-clouds institution. We're a hands-on, blue-collar institution. And our students understand that. They come to Clarkson for that kind of a degree. And that's why we can relate to what goes on here at Clinton Community College and the transportation industry. So it's a tremendous partnership. We want to go one step further. I see Jamie Hoos in the audience, who is the director of our Shipley Center for Innovation. And we're partnered, we are a New York hotspot. Part of that activity is to go and talk about how you can grow your businesses, how you can start your business. And so Jamie, I know, is leading workshops right here in Plattsburgh in a couple of weeks, up in Ticonderoga, I believe, up in Lake Placid with Northwood School. So we're teaching people, telling people, helping to support people in growing those enterprises. So forget about, the old days of what do you do in the North Country. We have proven together that we can grow, sustain, and build the workforce for the future and the opportunities that abound here. So if you take all of that, and if there's one lesson in COVID that we learned, it's that we live in a pretty good place. In fact, so good that many people from larger cities wanted to move into our locations. I never thought that I would see the day where real estate in Potsdam, you actually had to bid above the selling price to get a house. Think of that. If that isn't a transition and a signpost for the future about the attractiveness of our region, and now we've got, I think, the infrastructure, if you will, to create not just to create workers, but we can create the jobs that they're going to work at. And so it's a pretty interesting picture that we have. So we're thrilled to be part of the relationship with Ray. Thank you very much, and good luck to you. And we're thrilled to be able to sign the agreement today to expand the relationship. And I hope I've given you a bit of a glimpse of the future that you may not know coming out of COVID how much opportunity we have. And I want to thank the elected officials in front of me for your support over the years. And as I said, this is kind of like re-emerging after a couple of years and looking back in history, seeing all the friends that we've made. And now let's take advantage of this moment and drive forward. So thank you very much, Garry.
Tony. Our next friend and gold medalist, in my view, Ray DiPasquale, came into a challenging period when he came here. But I said at the time that I felt strongly from the first time I sat down with him that he was the right person in the right place at the right time. And that would have been true even without some of the crises he had to face. But thank heavens we had as strong a leader with a grasp of things and how to work collegially with people and steer a ship through stormy seas, that he was here during this period that he's been here. He started, as the chair of the board knows here, with a lot of fiscal challenges. And he took them on, and he righted the ship, and he got it on a safe pathway forward, a rebuilding process, rebuilt the confidence of Clinton County, which has always been such a great supporter of the college, and did again, I think, knowing that it had this man here who they could trust to steer the ship if they not only continued to invest, but invested further. And then he had this facility. Great facility, remarkable timing, state paid for all the capital stuff. Now it needed to be operated. It needed to be wedded to the business community and employers. It needed to be sold. Life needed to be brought into it. And he did that. And then we hit the pandemic. And he navigated this institution through that challenge as well, while doing several major capital projects at the same time. He just leaves an extraordinary legacy here. He's been a great collaborator with the business community. I would say the best we've ever had at Clinton Community College, and there have been some good presidents who were very collaborative with the business community. But this gentleman sets the mark of how to collaborate with a business community and employer community to make the community college relevant to the economy of the area and to the needs of employers. He's going to be leaving us in a few weeks, not because he doesn't love us anymore, but because he has other things to go on to, a next challenge in his career, and we understand that. We just thank him for being with us as long as he's been with us to do the things that he's done. Our good friend and partner, Ray DiPasquale.
Good morning, and pleasure to welcome all of you here. As Garry talks and Tony talks, and we're all back together, you look out at everyone, and I don't know anyone else that could do what Garry does and bring a crowd like this together. Nobody. I mean, he does it. And he brings us together for all the right reasons. I remember about 5 years ago, literally 4.5 years ago, standing here when we were just getting it ready, right? Remember everything? And we stood there, and Garry looked around, and it was part of Gary's vision and David's and many others, and he said, wow, you didn't screw it up. And we got it right. And I remember that quote forever. And when you look around, we did get it right. And this building is called the gold standard for advanced manufacturing centers in the United States. Not by us, but by Snap-on Tools and many others, that it was done right. And as Garry said earlier, it's here. And what's happened, you know, is obviously the pandemic took us a little off track. And now it's open. We want to welcome everybody, and we want to re-engage. Jamie, I know Tony was talking about the entrepreneurial workshops you're doing. Tony, the next one is here in this building. The real partnership that we work with Clarkson. We're very proud of that relationship, and I want to take us through just a few things, but talking about Clarkson, here's a perfect example of a partnership. When a student from Clinton Community College wants to go to Clarkson, and many of them do, from our engineering program, our electrical programs, that's the place they aspire to go to. They really do. Who wouldn't, right? Clarkson is a premier institution in the United States and across the world, actually. The best of the best. And I don't say that lightly. It is. So when I get a student who's a top-notch student here and they say, I want to go to Clarkson, I call Tony. We send him a note. And Tony says, bring that student up here. They take them, they accept them, they help them, they guide them. And just as proud as we are of our students graduating from here and moving on to Clarkson, Tony and his team embraces them. I don't know what better partnership you could have in seamless transfer with another institution. And then you expand upon that. You talk about the ability for our two faculty to interchange, right? Our two-year faculty with our four-year faculty, exchanging ideas, working together, using this as a research center to help do the projects that Clarkson wants to do. It is a unique, I don't know of any other partnership like this, unique in its way in helping grow the North Country with new ideas. Down the road, we want to teach courses from here, from Clarkson, to our community, so they don't have to drive that far. Open this facility for them. Do research together, do workforce development together. The projects are endless. And the person that brought that together was Garry. And there's no other way to say it. He brought us together. And he continues to bring people together because you don't dare say no. And I don't say that lightly because Garry continues to bring things forward and constantly pushing the envelope. The IAM Advisory Board, made up of many people in this audience, are helping develop where are we going for the future. We talked about a lot. You had $28 million worth of renovation on this campus. Think about it. Small community college in the North Country, $28 million worth of renovations. Big four-year schools don't talk about $28 million worth of renovation. It's here. It's state-of-the-art. The facility is second to none. Our old hotel is back, right? We should all be beaming, and David will take it from here, and John Cole, our administrator in charge, will take it from here, and they'll do a grand reopening of that old hotel in the state-of-the-art facility that it is. We should be so proud of that remarkable historic facility sitting on top of the hill. It's just about finished. And then in addition to that, our new Learning Commons that gives students a special place to go. When you look at all of that, you look back and you go, wow, together, everyone in this room, right? We've done some pretty cool things, right, Mark? I mean, the county's never supported us stronger. Dan, you've become a new partner as a senator. And Billy, you know, how exciting is it that, I'm going to say about 3 years ago now, 2.5, Billy pulled me in a corner at a chamber meeting and said, I'm going to get you $250,000 for the IEM. You guys need help, you need support, and we do. Guess what? We just got it, fully released. Thank you, Representative Jones. And then our mayor, right? An alum of this college. I can't tell you how proud I am of the relationship that we've built together. And the stuff that you're doing already, Chris, to make this city vibrant, using us as partners, this is, together, it's an endless possibility. It just is wonderful to see you in that job and the work that you're doing. And Michael, you know, you were the first person to visit me when I came here as a town supervisor. You talk about elected officials who are committed. And our federal, where are they, our representatives? I know, you know, they're all busy, but they've all been in this building, right? They've all been here to support us. We couldn't be any more fortunate. And I've never worked a place where the community is so engaged and they have one goal. We want this college to be successful. And they do, right? All of you. You know, Doug, I think about the things we've talked about and the things you're bringing here. I can look at all of you, right? This is exciting. It really is. And you said it. I think we're just breaking out of the pandemic. You know, what's happening, you're watching college presidents and high officials leaving higher education. You're seeing a lot of it, more than I would have ever seen. But in his case, right, Tony's case, over 40 years working at Clarkson, tremendous career. And as you say, you know, I want a little bit of life left, right? Who knows what'll be next? But let's give Tony a wonderful round of applause. So as we look at this, I think this is the most exciting time to be in higher education. I don't know that there's a more exciting time to be able to take your colleges from where they are today to the next level. You're going to come out of the pandemic with a plan. Where are we going to go? And this college has an extraordinarily bright future. You've heard it. We've stabilized it. We've worked together. We're about to take off, and with new leadership, and I'm excited about the potential of that. And David will look at me and say, you know, we're getting there. But there's a process, and we will have new leadership, and it will take it to the next level. It's an exciting time for this community. This is a wonderful community college, and again, our partner, here's what I want to say to you as kind of a final message. The partnership with Clarkson is just here. I mean, there's nobody like it. And the things that I think potentially are here are just endless. Good stuff coming down the road. The fact that we're signing that agreement again ties us together seamlessly as workforce. You've got an amazing leader. As they say, Garry hates when I do this, but I do it anyways, is that, you know, one of the top 100 influential business leaders in New York State, the only one in northern New York.
You got two of us here.
Two of you. And here we sit because they make things happen. And that doesn't get any better. And then as I look out at all of you, and so many of you are friends, colleagues, it's tough to say goodbye to you because, why? Because you're friends, you're colleagues, you've made a difference. And here's what I'm going to ask you. Please, please, please remain a friend of this college. It's not about, never about me, it was about what's best for Clinton, right? And you have helped make it a better place. Be a good friend to this school. They need you. We got a long way to go. And together, we can do some extraordinary things with this college, with Clarkson, with the chamber leading those charges to get us where we need today. Today is a special day because it is just that. It's a reopening. It's a re-engaging. You know, it's reawakening, right, of who we are and where we're going. Let's take this opportunity and move forward. As they say, Garry, and I'll end with this, onward and upward. No distractions. Let's keep it going. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the support you've given me.
Thank you. It's said that God made man because he loves a story. So we need to have a couple of stories, and we've got a couple of stories in the program by a couple of our employers who have been recently using the assets of this facility and its faculty to do training, and we want to bring them up each in turn to paint a fresh picture of the ways that employers need to be thinking about using this place and using it more than ever. And we're going to start with Ralph Kuhn from Platco.
Thank you all, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about how we use the IAM in our partnership with the institutions. I am CEO and president of Platco only for the last couple of years. For those of you who don't know Platco, we've only been in business for 124 years here in the Plattsburgh area, so relatively young, obviously. Very tried and true company. The main product is valves, and valves that go into infrastructure-related things. We're heavy into mining, cement, steel, those types of things. And the technology has been the same since 1970, right? So it was ready for a little bit of a refreshing thing. And so when I got here, one of the things I first endeavored to do was to look at the structure, look at our markets, and see what was going on. We recognize that there's an electrification, automation, you hear these things, remote controlling and operation of different products, and we didn't necessarily have the talent in-house. So we reorganized our engineering department, put in a new engineering manager, and he immediately said, I've got to start filling that gap. When you go looking out into the immediate community as to where you're going to fill the gap with that kind of learning skill, the perfect choice was the IAM. The staff here has the skills, the real-world experience, the facility, all of these opportunities. And what was the best is they started with a class. They started with simple electrical knowledge class where the staff actually said, bring your problems into the classroom. And they were actually put right into the curriculum. So it turned into a little bit of an R&D center for Platco. And in the long term, they actually came up with proof of concept on a new design for an electric operator for our valves that had been tabled for 25 years in our own organization. So from that standpoint, they really ramped up the speed because of all of the things that this place offers and by incorporating all the needs that our company had. All of the engineers went through that class. They learned the general things. Like, I'm proud to say that they obviously reduced the lead time on that R&D experience. They took and reduced our costs. So essentially, we would have spent lots of money on consulting to try to get that done. The prototype was actually developed by the end of the class, and it's actually verified as a concept, and I'm proud to say they all passed, so that's a good positive thing as well. It led to even further classwork here. We're actually into control systems, actually classes here, and our engineers are using this almost as a second R&D center, which is a very, very positive thing. From that standpoint, Platco has benefited. Now we're going to be in market in 2022 with this product as opposed to possibly 2023 and beyond, so the benefits are huge to what we actually got to experience here. That said, a special thanks to all of you in the front row, because without you, we couldn't have done a lot of that activity. Having this type of facility here is impressive and important to this community. It's established this place as a manufacturing center. Me and my belief, I moved here from the Albany area 2 years ago because this was a manufacturing-focused community. The way that all of us come together, because that's to me where value is built in a society. When you're adding value through manufacturing, that's where real jobs happen. And as this partnership develops, and I'm also a Clarkson grad, by the way, the long and the short is, I'm looking at the camp and I'm looking at the Center for Advanced Material Processing because we have a foundry and there are new and possible ways we can expand relationship through this agreement that is going to benefit us in the long term in both development and in product structure as we get forward. So it's a very important thing. Thank you again to all of you for your time and investment in what we're doing. I'm very impressed by this community and how everything comes together with business leaders, community leaders, politicians, and everybody supporting something of this type, and we very much are looking at this as a new way to get actual help into our business as well. So thank you all, and that's our story.
Thank you, Earl. And another great example, a great story to be told to you here today, we have John Connery, Operations Manager at Michelin, who many of you may still be thinking of as CAMZO, which has been part of the community for many years. John?
So about 3 years ago, we were purchased by Michelin, which to me is a great testament to the people who put the previous 28 years of aggravating Michelin with competing with their Beyond Road product line. They really did a good job. So CAMZO Manufacturing USA is a global we're a local manufacturer of tracks who has a very large share of the market, greater than 90%. I've heard lots of different numbers, but what we're enjoying here is that we installed a automation cell, but we didn't have the maintenance people who were up to speed with it. So what we did is we had, many years ago, we did a PLC course where programmable logic controllers, we worked with the staff here, and the thing is, we kind of came in afterwards and we said, so tell me, who was the superstar? You know, who should we reinvest in? And we've done additional training, additional classes with other people to be able to enrich them, and the center's been great for that. Right now we have two cells operating, which would be considered automation, and that is, most of our employees are out of high school and over to us or from another manufacturing firm in. So it's really great to be able to have this here, to take somebody who already knows your product, knows the quality criteria, and enhance them to be able to operate that type of equipment, to be able to do the same quality standards. So for us, that's been really good. Recently, we brought in 6 employees to go through the yellow robots you'll see in here are called FANUC, and we're bringing them up to speed on the FANUC robots. With that, I have 2 of them currently running, and we have a new manufacturing cell that we're putting in, which is about the size of this room here. It's one of the largest capital expenditures that our business line has ever done, and we're doing it here in Plattsburgh, which is great. So, talking to the employees this morning before I came over, just so you know, the interaction they had, they really enjoyed it. Their comments that it was fun, it was hands-on, it was an eye-opener to them to realize that we had this here and they've only flavored a little bit of it. There's so much more here that can help any manufacturer. Anything from the stuff you can't see out back to the torque labs, it's very beneficial. So with that, I thank you. I thank all of you. It's working out quite well for our organization. So any manufacturers should engage.
Thank you, gentlemen. Two good stories. There are many more, and there are many, many more we need to have in the future. And so spread the word and encourage employers, particularly those of you interacting with employers in the area. Have you thought about using IAM? Why not? Let me facilitate a phone call. Let me get you in touch with them so you can really go see the place if you haven't been there and understand what they can do. And most of them are going to come away, they're going to say, wow, you know, I hadn't realized it, but there's some value I can get out of that. Thank you for introducing me to them. So let's all be ambassadors in that regard. We want, as part of this celebration, to thank and have in turn some comments from a number of our partners, particularly our public officials locally and on the state level. Dan Steck is in his first term as our state senator, but he for a long time was the assemblyman for the district just south of here, what's now Matt Simpson's district. And during that time, he demonstrated his understanding of and his friendship toward community colleges, toward workforce training programs such as this, and he's carrying that on. We thank him for that, and I'm happy to call up Senator Dan Steck.
Well, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I want to start first by pointing out and recognizing on a personal level these 3 gentlemen here. I think their importance to not only the education aspects of our lives here in the North Country, but more importantly, from my perspective and all the employers here's perspective, their importance to the economy, and particularly our manufacturing sector, cannot be overstated. As a former engineer, as an alum of Clarkson University myself, I want to point out just how deeply I recognize, that relationship on a very personal level. For me, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Clarkson and their approach to their interactions with community colleges and with employers, and the relationships just like the one we're celebrating here today. As a high school senior many years ago, I was running out of options in high school, and this was before the days of advanced placement and community college partnerships. But Clarkson had gone out and done something very unique then. They created a program for high school seniors, and I went to Clarkson a year early. And my experience at Clarkson was so positive that while I had other options to go to other schools from there, they made it very easy for me to stay. And so met my wife, the Navy recruited me, and put my Clarkson skills to use because they were looking for more technical majors than they could produce on their own. And so, I mean, the importance of Clarkson in my life, and while I was at Clarkson, one of the things that was just remarkable to me then was how many of my fellow students came in from community colleges, from Clinton, from North Country, from Adirondack, from Hudson Valley. So, you know, the story that was told earlier is very true, you know, that they've really embraced this relationship with the community colleges to round out, you know, the needs of the students and therefore the needs of our employers. And, you know, now wearing the hat that I wear today, employers are begging for more employees. It's an issue everywhere in our country right now for a variety of issues that I won't get into, but one of the things that I know that employers embrace from Clarkson graduates is the hands-on, blue-collar experience of knowing how to put things together and how things work. That brings value to the employers. And, you know, Garry, here in the Plattsburgh area, I am just astounded at the strength and the variety of the manufacturing base that you have here. It's very unique in New York State, certainly in the North Country. And I've been to several of your member businesses out there. I want to go more. I'd like to go back to Platco and see the foundry when it's in operation one of these days. So I'll irritate my scheduler right now, who's not here, but she'll hear about it later. Employers, I'd like to come visit and see what you're doing, learn what you're doing, so I can be further service to you. But for this morning, I just want to highlight how important I think that this relationship between Clinton and Clarkson is, not only to the two institutions, but again, to the larger economy of the North Country. So thank you all, and Tony and Ray, thanks for your personal friendship, and God bless you and good luck in your next future endeavors. Thank you.
I can't really say enough about the next young fellow I'm going to bring up in terms of his support to the community college here, as already was mentioned by Ray, but also his continued underwriting of the North American Center of Excellence for Transportation Equipment, NAMTrans, which a few years ago was an idea at the Chamber that we were kind of developing it conceptually. Couldn't quite really get it off the ground, have it really gel as a valuable service for those 50-plus transportation equipment and aerospace companies. And Billy Jones came to the table and has delivered time and again the resources we need to have a professional staff to do the services and to make it what really is becoming a model cluster organization in the whole country, and a real partner to be able to work and coordinate with the business community to work with this institution and the IM here. Our Assemblyman, Billy Jones.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It's great to be here. It really is, and it's exciting. It's exciting where we're at. But you know, you've heard many of the stories here this morning, so I'm not going to go through those many stories. But as I was sitting there, and when you're 6th or 7th in the lineup, you don't want to say what everybody else said, but I'll probably repeat a little bit of it. But I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm listening to the stories, how we started out manufacturing 20, 25 years ago when Plattsburgh was not at a great point, and it's, or the North Country, I should say, as a whole, was not at a great point. Garry has said many times, or you've heard the story about how the Air Force Base was leaving or had left, and what are we going to do next? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking over, and beyond these nice Clinton banners and Clarkson banners, I see that beautiful flag over there. And take a look over there. And we're sitting in an area where people say, sometimes manufacturing is dead in America. The country has said it over and over again in the last, several decades that manufacturing is leaving. Well, it's not. Take a look at that flag. We're sitting in a space right now where manufacturing here in the North Country is an example, not only in New York State, not only in the United States, but all of North America for the partnerships we have formed across the border. Manufacturing is alive and kicking here in the North Country, and we are an example of that. But it wasn't always that way. And through the hard work of Garry, bringing organizations and collaborating with people, I mean, there's been a lot of work put into this. And we've heard these stories over and over again, how we've collaborated. We don't think in a silo. We talk to each other. But we're at a point again right now where there is a bit of a labor shortage. Garry had mentioned it earlier. So what do? We hook up with higher education like we have in the past couple of years, higher learning institutes, to get us to the next level, to recruit skilled workers. And that's where we're at. We're collaborating again, reintroducing this beautiful facility to our employers. We're going to say that again because it is very important, so that we can get those skilled workers, that we can help out our employers here in this manufacturing cluster known as the North Country now. We can help them get jobs ready, people ready for those jobs, those important jobs. And it's very important. I want to focus to these two men over here to my left. I've grown to know them and form friendships. Tony, I first met many, many years ago when I was fortunate to be on the North Country Regional Economic Development Council, and his knowledge and his wisdom and guiding us through those early years along with Garry was unbelievable. So Tony, thank you for everything that you have done for our economy here in the North Country. And President Ray, as he's all known to us affectionately here, thank you for everything that you have done. These are two men that didn't sit around and they thought beyond what they needed to think. They said, what can we do in our community? In many areas, higher learning institutes will only think of that. They'll focus on that. We've got to get our graduates out the door. Not these two. They said, what can we do to get our graduates out the door, to help our business community, to help our employers out, and to make these people ready, to make the individuals that leave our institutions ready, and to be a willing partner and a partner in the workforce and a partner in the community. And that's what it's about. So thank you so much for thinking beyond that. Ray, good luck and congratulations on everything. We've formed quite a friendship here. One of my first meetings that I had when I was running for this office was visiting you up in the office up there in Clinton, and I came away from that meeting and I said, this guy is dynamic. He's going to help not only this college out, he's going to help this entire area out with his out-of-the-box thinking. So thank you so much for everything. Tony, as always, thank you. Hopefully we'll run into each other before you get done as well. But these three men up here, these three individuals have helped out to get us to a spot where we are today and where we are as a North Country and the manufacturing cluster that we have formed here, and that we continue to grow beyond. But we continue to work on that, and that's helping us out with this labor shortage we're going out, and we'll continue to work on that. We really will, and it just shows what a great collaboration we have here in the North Country. So thank you very much, everyone here.
One question occurred to me that I've been meaning to ask him, but I haven't had the chance. Billy, do you think we should reopen the border?
I'll give you my opinion on it.
Okay. Next up is the chair of the Clinton County Legislature, Mark Henry. Mark has continued a longstanding legacy of unique collaboration between this county legislature and this community college. I can tell you, you don't have to go far in this region to read news stories every year or two about some other community colleges going to their county legislatures and having criticism and disputes and questions about the funding and sometimes some all-out battles. I've been here now coming on 30 years of the chamber. I've never seen that through successive county legislatures in this county. It's a terrific culture of understanding by this county legislature, and now under Mark, even stronger than ever, if that's possible, that this community college is not an expense, it's an investment. It's an investment in the future, it's an investment in the economy, it's an investment in our people. And Mark gets that, and please join in thanking Mark and Rick and all of his colleagues currently on the county legislature and all of those who have served on the county legislature through the years for their support. Mark?
Thank you, Garry. On behalf of Clinton County, the Clinton County Legislature, I am pleased to be at things like this. I'm glad to see Legislator Potiker is here with us. I don't know if anyone else is, but these types of things are always exciting to us. I know when Chris was in the legislature, now Mayor, this is what we want to see, advancements like this. We talk about renewal. I was reminded as I was sitting out there that as we come out of COVID, hopefully as we get more and more back to normal, This is kind of like a family, a renewal of this MOU that maybe we've been apart for a year or so, haven't been able to see each other, but now we are here to renew this friendship that has existed for such a long time and will into the future to the benefit of all of us. We talked a little bit earlier about the recruitment of employees to this area. But we have to think too about the recruitment of leaders to this area, leaders of industry, leaders of education. And we have two perfect examples here right now of recruiting people to our area. And by our area, of course, I mean the North Country, not just Clinton County. I mean, we have one educational leader here today that came to us from a place that we would consider far away, with a charming accent, with maybe a culture we don't quite understand. The other came to us from Australia. This is what we need here. We need the ability to attract people here. And there's many things that go into attracting workers here, attracting leaders to our area, attracting the folks that we need to move forward. And one of the reasons that we are able to do this is this working together between the state, the federal government, the county, our educational leaders, their Chamber of Commerce. These are important structures that we need to have in place to recruit the best and the brightest here. I've become, hopefully, great friends with Ray. I'm going to miss him. They are both visionary leaders. Ray has certainly been. Garry often talks about punching above our weight. We are absolutely punching above our weight with President Ray, President Tony. We thank you very much for your vision. We thank you for your leadership. We can only offer you our best wishes in the future. Thank you. Thank you all.
Michael Cashman has been a dynamic and positive partner in all of his time as town supervisor. He's already made a mark, and he's got many more marks to make because he's so young. It's hard to think anybody that young at this point in some of our lives. But he's done so much, and he's got so much more that we know he's going to do. Things don't happen here at this community college without the support of the town government. It's in the town, whether it's a building project and building and planning support, or in so many other ways. The town of Plattsburgh has through the years, and again continues under Michael's leadership, to be supportive of this institution. And, as a matter of fact, of that 50-plus cluster of transportation equipment companies, I'm going to roughly say at least half of them are in the town of Plattsburgh. You know, that's where they're concentrated. And he's been supportive in the development of many of those footprints in those companies, and we have discussions underway now. There's remarkable things. This manufacturing community is about to become larger. And that's going to make your workforce a little more challenging, but it's about to become larger because they're being drawn here. And one of the reasons they're being drawn here is because of this place. It's part of the story that we tell. Michael?
Thanks, Garry. I do apologize, but I think you'll appreciate this as a politician. I will be brief and I will be gone. There is some activities going on, but I knew when the Chamber made an invitation to come here to Clinton Community College, I knew that I had to be here this morning. Though I am a little disappointed, though, Ray, because I thought this was your outgoing roast. So I had prepared a lot of material, and I'm really sorry I can't deliver on what I had prepared for Billy. Tomorrow night. But really, the reason I wanted to be here for just a brief moment is to say thank you. Ray, when we first met, I was absolutely convinced you were the right choice for this community because you carried this community from the mountaintop down into the community, reintroducing the resources, the faculty, the passion, and the opportunity that students could find here on the bluff. And Tony, thank you for coming across the North Country and finding partnerships because, as Garry often says, there is power through partnerships. And we here in the North Country build things. For those of you that are in various industries that are here today, I want to echo what has already been said many times over. We are just getting started. We have a strong legacy, but we're going to build upon that. We have some great things ahead, many stirring announcements, hopefully in the very near future. But thank you to all of our leadership. Thank you to our community. Let's keep the community and our community college, and let's move forward. Thank you very much. Be well.
Have fun at the dunking booth, Michael. Our next great partner, Chris Rosenquist, an alumnus of this school, so evidence of the leadership that's instilled in students here, and having a return from that in the community and taking up a position like that. But Chris also was, for a number of years, a member of the county legislature and was part of that legacy that we referenced of support for this institution, but also workforce and economic development here in the community. And now he's bringing that very much to his role as mayor of the city of Plattsburgh. Chris Rosenquist.
Wow, good morning. Thank you, Gary, Ray, and Tony. As Billy said, you kind of sit at the end of the line and you hope that you don't repeat everything else everybody said. But Tony said something early on: to build, grow, and sustain. Build, grow, and sustain relationships, our workforce, our local businesses. That does require partnership. These folks here have created the partnership from the educational side. The local elected officials are creating the partnership from our side. And now we implore you, the business community, to build the last leg of that three-legged stool to create that partnership for this facility, for our community, for our workforce. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Tony. Of course, thank you, Gary and Ray. I have to say I will miss you. I love you. And thank you for taking care of my college.
Thanks, Chris. And our next part of the celebration is our good friend Dave Favreau, who is, of course, Sheriff of Clinton County, but also, very importantly, has been an outstanding chair, continues to be an outstanding chair of the Board of Trustees here at Clinton Community College, recruiting as fine a talent as we recruited with Ray, and then supporting him in the vision and the activities he's undertaken. And I know under your leadership and under the leadership of your colleagues on the Board of Trustees, we'll see that continue. Dave?
You probably saw me fumbling earlier. I was looking for my speech. And then after Billy got up, I realized I must have dropped it. President Collins, President DiPasquale, and President Douglas, esteemed guest, friends of the community college, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to wish a very heartfelt welcome and thank you for your past and future support of Clinton Community College. What can you say when you are the last speaker with such esteemed presenters early in the morning? Anything you want. Actually, I'm going to keep it rather simple, though. As I listen to everybody, I echo their sentiments, but most importantly, there's one word that kept coming to mind over and over and over again. We talked about partnerships, we talked about needs, developing business growth, support from politicians, support from the community, wonderful staff that we have here in the IAM and at Clinton Community College and at Clarkson University. The one word that comes to mind that is so critical to everyone's success at every level in everything that we do, folks, is communication. We need to be able to talk openly and honestly with each other. And I've been honored to be able to have that type of open communication with our presidents, with most of you in the audience, and with the community. That's how we get things done. Now, communication is not just talking. Yes, I am communicating right now. I'm delivering a message. But communications is multiple things. When you come up here to Clinton Community College, we communicate to people right away. They look at the IAM, that sends a message. They look at our beautiful new building, thanks to the support of our legislature and our community. That sends a message. I'm an alumni from this college, graduated from Clinton Community in 1981. In the process of that, when I left, I went to school in an old hotel. Kind of weird. There were actually rooms, hotel rooms. It's like, man, what is going on up here? Got a great education. And I'd like to take a moment thinking about my education and the impact of our community. This community has lost quite a bit in the last several years, but most recently with the passing of Dr. Alfred Light and also with Jan Forsman. Those are two people that had a big impact on my life. Jan Forsman was an English professor here at Clinton Community College. And I'll tell you what, kind, compassionate, caring person that has had a big impact on me and thousands of other people. All of our faculty and staff up here at Clinton and at Clarkson have the same impact, as we heard earlier when our senator got up here and spoke. It's a critical job. How do they do that? How do they get through to us? Communication. How do we become successful? Communication. We can all have great ideas. We can have great visions. If we hold them to ourselves and we wait for an opportunity for us, it's not communication. It's not going to be successful. You need to be able to get these ideas, get these thoughts out to other people, to the partners, to the people that want to make things happen in our community. Right here at Clinton Community College, the partnership that we have with Clarkson University, the partnership we have with all of the wonderful businesses, some of which we heard from this morning, that happens because of communication. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, in addition to our heartfelt thanks, I would like to ask, let us know what your needs are, what your desires are, what your hopes are, what we can do for you. And with our wonderful staff that we have here at the IAM and at Clinton Community College, we will be able to put together anything to be able to help out your future needs and advance our wonderful manufacturing community even further than it is right now. I thank you for the time. Good luck, Mr. Collins, in the future. I'm not even going to talk about Ray right now. I'll deal with that afterwards. Garry, thank you for putting this together and for being such a champion for Clinton Community College and our community. Thank all of you. Have a wonderful and safe day.
Thank you, David. It's official.